Guys have kind of ramped up over the first few days.
I think they've been good. Both groups, I thought, as I said, the first day, the morning group, the team Vernon was the better group. Yesterday, I thought it was Ginla when you look at the first two groups that are on the ice. And today I might give the nod to Ginla as well. So I like to see that because I feel like some of the older players are pushing, and I think we're also having the push from the guys that are trying to make an impression as well. And that's an important thing for us when you try to find your game early on like this.
Some of the players have said the defensive zone is going to look a little bit different going from man to zone. Just can you elaborate on that a little bit?
There's changes with it for sure. I mean, the principles behind it are the same for us. Like, we don't want to spend time in our zone. So that part of it's not changing. What we ask our D-men to do, that'll be something that changes, and I think the most important person will be our centermen on the ice. So they're the guys that we have to spend, I think, the most time with because they're the ones that have the harder reads in regards to their coverage and who they have to pick up and the way they see the game. But that's one of the beauties about our team. When you look at our guys down the middle, you can probably consider them our smartest players. So that's why we kind of feel like making subtle adjustments along the way will work for us. After there's going to be some trial and error for sure because guys are kind of set in their ways, but it's something that we're going to continue to work on every day.
How do you think the adjustments in the D zone are going to facilitate breakouts and
and that's part of it because it's a little bit different how we're going to have to get the puck out of our zone. I mean, there's not huge differences, but we'll have to, like you see us spending time in our own zone every day so far. The breakouts are going to be a big part of it as we move forward as well.
What have you noticed about Jacob Pelche, and what do you put on him this year?
Put on him in regards to
responsibility, role,
yeah,
and what your expectations are?
You know, he's one of the players that, when we look at him, can go up and down your lineup. He's got a good skill set that he has. He's a very cerebral player, if you want to use that term. He understands the game really well, so you could trust him with your top players and his ability to make plays. He's also a guy that we're going to look to create energy, and we've talked a lot about the guys that have to push. He's one of them. So he's in the category of someone that needs to bring that every day, or someone else will be waiting to do it. So that's how we're going to create some competition. He's a very good player that can play anywhere in our lineup, I feel like. Now it's up to him to show that over the next number of games throughout the exhibition season. But first and foremost, I think would be the energy role that we would look for out of him.
You've seen players develop from your junior time to right up to where you are today, and you see maybe a light go off or a switch that gets flipped where they get it, that aha moment. Have you noticed it with him yet in terms of, maturity, preparation, whatever, and then they understand it? Do you see those moments?
It's coming. I mean, when you looked at him last year, he wasn't himself early on because he didn't want to ruffle feathers. And the one thing that you love about him is he is very energetic. Like, when he's around, he's always talking, he's chirping, and he gets people going in his own way. And last year he was nervous to do that a lot, but you see him this year, like, it's who I am. And at the end of the day, that's a player that feels a little bit more comfortable with where he's at. Now it's him kind of finding the line where he's making sure he's ready, but stays loose like he likes to be.
Have you done anything special over the last few days to sort of put your stamp on it a little bit in terms of starting to set the way you want it here?
Boy, I don't know if there's anything special, really. I mean, we have different conversations with our players. There's our meetings that we have. There's some different messaging along the way for sure. We all have a responsibility to try to make this the right environment for our players to have success. So that's one thing that we're really been focused on behind the scenes, and we want to make sure we continue that as we move forward.
We always ask the players, how's it different for you? What's it like, new role, whatever. What's it been like for you through a few days?
It's been awesome. It's a little bit different in regards to, you're putting your lineups together. You're trying to think of where people fit in practices. Then you have your 8 exhibition games that are coming up. You still have the 3 groups. So getting all that stuff organized has been fun for me. And working with the coaches like we have been over the last little while has been really good.
What goes into setting your lineups and determining who you want to play, who you want to play? 3 games in 2 days. How do you go about determining that?
That's a tough one where you're likely going to see most players in those games because you don't want to, if you can avoid it. I mean, there's going to be guys that are going to be playing back-to-back. It's just the way it is. We played the 2 games against Seattle the same day, so there's going to be guys that will play in both. I think what we look for is you want to see if some of the lines that we've used the last 3 days, is there something there when it comes to game time? And then I think as you get going further, there's certain players that you want to Are they ready to handle a situation where they're playing with, a top 6 NHL player? So you can look at a Connor Zary if you want to single out a player. Like, we want to see what he's going to be able to do. So he'll find himself in situations where he's in that energy role that we talked about with Pelch. But he, like the other younger guys, are going to get situations where they'll find themselves bumped up the lineup a little bit to see if they're at the level that they're ready to contribute.
Is Connor close?
I think he's close. I mean, he's one of the guys that we hope will show a lot during exhibition. We need that. I mean, you need your younger guys to push, and you need them to show that they have something that will impact your lineup, whether it's just bringing a certain amount of energy, whether it's being really good in your own zone, whether it's chipping in with offense. So he has to show something like our other younger guys do.
Is there one thing specifically, you mentioned things that he has to do, is there something that he has to work on to get there?
Pace. I think if you were to say one thing about Zars, he knows it. I mean, he wants to play the game. He has to play the game faster at this level. And if he thinks of a little bit more straight line, moving it quicker when it's on his stick, and then finding a way to get himself open, he'll figure it out pretty quickly because he's a smart kid.
What's sort of the adjustment going from assistant to head coach? There's this idea of sort of good cop to bad cop, for lack of a better word. How do you view that, and what were the challenges from transitioning from one role to another?
I think the only challenge that I foresee, at some point you get tested, and you're ready for it, you're expecting it, and then you just have to make sure you stay, you keep them accountable, I think, is the big thing. And as soon as they see that early on, then all that stuff is gone. There is no assistant to head conversation anymore. So that's really, at the end of the day, what it's all about. These guys are going to be prepared to play. That's something our staff will take a lot of pride in. But there's going to be times where they're going to want to do certain things, and we're going to have to say, no, it's not the way we're doing it. And then there's no more question.
Is it like, it's not often a guy does that on the same team? Have you reached out to other people around the league that have gone from assistant to head?
No,
on the same
I
team?
haven't. I feel, honestly, the time that you put in working with different coaches, I've talked about, you make your notes, the goods, the bads, you learn a lot along the way, and you get to a point where you really do believe that you're ready. And it's not going to be smooth sailing all the way along, but there's a difference when you know you're ready for something, when you're thinking you're ready for something, if that kind of makes any sense.
You get more feedback at the grocery store now?
I've spent a lot of time here, so good thing I have a wife that is pretty good at all that stuff.
As a coaching staff, do you kind of look forward to now putting in place some of the things you guys have worked on over 3 days into game action against some different opponents, seeing how it stacks up and what you can adjust?
Yeah, and that's now we can see our guys doing things, and it's easier when you watch yourself in video when you're trying to make corrections or make adjustments to what you're trying to do. So now you get a chance to actually play the games, see if they understand what we're asking them first and foremost. If they aren't understanding it, then maybe our messaging has been wrong with them. And then it's an opportunity for us to continue to build and get better with it. But you start the games, and yes, they're exhibition games, and yes, it's an opportunity for guys to make impressions, but you want to win those games too, because that's the standard that you want to set.
I know it's
My
early.
apologies if you've already been asked about this and I somehow missed it, but fitness testing, were you happy with the results?
Yeah,
and
very happy.
Can you share maybe who was at the top?
Happily. Dylan Dubé was at the top of our fitness testing, and that's 3 years in a row. So that's pretty special when you have a guy that's, everybody knows he's good and they all gun for that guy, and he's still able to finish at the top. The other cool thing for us, you can say the oldest returning player finished number 2 in Michael Backlund. So again, I go back to the conversations that we've had. We need young guys, we need old guys, and Michael sets a standard for the older group, and Dylan sets a standard for all the guys that are trying to make it in. They put the time in, and there's a lot of our players. Chris Tanev was very close to the top as well. And we had a lot of guys that were very close, so we were very happy. Ricky's excited. If you see him walking around, his chest is out.
I know it's obviously early in the process, but systems-wise, how much different do you think the power play will look this year compared to last?
Personnel-wise or style-wise?
A little of both.
Yeah, I think part of it is for Mark to get an idea of, when he sees guys out there actually live, who may fit with who. If it fits with what he wants to, with how he wants to see it operate. So I think you'll see some of the same people on the power play as we get through the exhibition games. It'll change, as I said, because guys are going to be in different spots. But Mark's got a creative mind, so I think you'll see some different things off face-offs. I think you'll see them try some different things off entries. And the challenge is making the guys understand the importance of when they're on the ice in the power play, they have to be guys that build momentum for our team. And at the end of the day, score or not score, they have to get momentum shifted. And we have a bunch of guys that are capable of being a very good power play this year. And a lot of that falls on their shoulders in regards to how they come together and how they, or what they expect out of each other on a nightly basis in those key critical situations. Because you don't win. You're not winning games if your power play penalty kill aren't very good.
You mentioned the penalty kill. Obviously, last few years it's been a very good penalty kill. Have you talked to Dan about sort of, you think it's going to look similar? You think there's going to be many tweaks there either?
It'll look similar. I mean, that's the one nice thing. We have guys that have played it for a long time, so they understand it. It'll look similar. Dan will put his own flavor onto it for sure, but we'll still expect them to do a lot of the same things there.
When we at the rookie camp, we heard the phrase "value the puck" a bunch during that stretch, and it's like, is it safe to say this will be a lot more puck possession and that type of style?
Yeah, that's a funny one too, because puck possession, I think when we talk about valuing the puck, it's about making the right decisions with it, because sometimes it is putting it into an area where you can maybe get it back instead of trying to play through someone at the blue line and turning it over. So when you hear valuing the puck, that's what it is. We want to give our guys some of the tools to maybe have a little bit more success with controlled entries coming into the zone, but it's on them again to make sure they make the right decision there, because it's not about trying to be cute or creative and trying to play through 2 or 3 people there. That's where valuing the puck matters, where they have to be willing to put it into an area and be willing to get it back, so then we can keep it in the offensive zone. So sometimes when people talk possession, they think it's always skating in, but it's not. It's, you may have to put it behind, but then it becomes, you better get it back.